So I finally finished Star Wars Visions, which is something that has really always fascinated me as an anime fan and a person that, appreciates Star Wars for what it is. Here we have a Star Wars anime, just telling a bunch of different stories in the Star Wars universe that are completely separate of each other, and probably, let's be honest, is the way that the new Disney stuff should just go. Rather than reviewing the whole series in this video though, I would like to go through each episode from least favorite to most favorite for me personally, just like kind of ranking 9 through 1. Let's begin. And if you've been in the channel before and like somebody that likes to talk anime with you now and then, consider subscribing to the channel. Westside Otaku. Hey, it's Tony here. Each of these episodes are handled by different anime studios. Some have barely done anything, some are super renowned, And even though I did this list 9 through 1, just know it's more like there's tiers. I would say 9 through 7 is the low tier, mid tier is 6 and 5, and the top tier is actually 4 episodes, which is cool. But to kick it off, in that bottom tier is number 9, the vision titled AKAKIRI by Science SARU. This episode pretty much deals with a Jedi that is returning to a planet that he apparently has a love. And I couldn't even get that vibe in this episode though, to be honest. And there's no spoilers throughout this whole thing, by the way. I'm just giving you the basic premise of each episode. What I did really like in this was the animation style. I thought it was kind of cool sometimes. Ultimately, this was just a story that I didn't really care about anybody in the plot. I thought it had some cool visuals now and then, but I just wasn't able to understand people's motives. I don't know, I get what the princess or whatever was doing that's in this, but I don't know, I need to be able to relate with the characters and understand what they're doing, and the ending was really the only thing that I kind of got that feeling. Number 8 in this list goes to TATOOINE Rhapsody, which is by Studio COLORIDO, and I was kind of having hopes for this episode. I really wanted it to be good to me and one that I would actually enjoy because I thought I might not like it, but unfortunately, my thoughts were pretty much accurate. This was just one of the episodes I didn't personally care about. I thought the character designs looked really cool. The character designs in this looked really cool, especially the Tri-Ogre. I thought that was really cool, and there's a really cute robot in this crew. It essentially centers around kind of a rock band in the Star Wars universe and how, one kind of found a home with this band, maybe all of them did. And it's neat, but I don't know, it kind of wraps up super suddenly. They just get to kind of the solution of the problem. I get what it was trying to do, it just wasn't for me. Really nice animation though, and I thought that was cool. I did like the art style of it. The next one goes to TOB1, also done by Science SARU, which is funny because there's 2 studios in this list that did 2 episodes, and Science SARU is in the bottom tier, and then the other studio is covering the mid tier. But yeah, TOB1 is a story following this kind of robot, android, whatever you want to call it, designed by an old man that is, he doesn't have any arms, which makes him kind of, interesting little physical characteristic, but he designs all these robots to fulfill this purpose that he has. I would say this is the top one of the bottom tier to me, just because I did get what was going on in this. I did understand people's motives, and the characters were, okay, I get them kind of a thing. But in the end, I almost feel like this episode could have been a lot better if it was just silent, if there was no dialogue whatsoever, and it was simply like a silent film, like just a visual story to tell. If they did that, it probably would have been in the top tier of this list. But in the end, it was still kind of cute. I did find some neat things in it, but I don't know. I just say it's number 7. Now we get to the mid tier, which is the area that these are actually things I thought, was enjoyable. I actually did kind of dig them a bit. And funny enough, both of them are by Studio Trigger, which is number 6 being the twins. And this is probably the one that most people wanted to see based off of the trailers. It's the one where you see, just 2 people fighting on top of an Empire ship without any helmets or anything. And, just like Studio Trigger, you just roll with it. You just go with it. And this one definitely has kind of the most spectacle to it, that's for sure. And obviously it's because it's Trigger, they kind of own it in this. And I don't know, the premise was neat enough. It's about 2 siblings that's kind of been raised on the dark side, and one of them is potentially deciding to, go against it. And so that's going to cause friction here. And there's other things I'm leaving out. But it is a pretty good isolated story, and I appreciate that part. Don't watch this one in English. I have a feeling because I watched this one in English, it made it so much worse. I didn't care for the voice acting at all, so I couldn't buy into the characters. Maybe I need to watch it again in Japanese, because this one, the writing was super weird sometimes, but the spectacle was cool. But at number 5, I definitely did like more The Elder by Studio Trigger. Completely different style thing, which is really funny that it's by the same studio. It's kind of this, I heard the comparison of a Clint Eastwood-like episode, and it really does feel like that, kind of this old Western feel. The Elder is essentially about a master and his pupil, Padawan, this is Star Wars. And they are kind of traveling the universe together, and once the master kind of senses a big dark presence, they go to check it out. And that kind of leads to this sort of, I don't want to say bounty hunt, but just this really kind of slow, atmospheric, just Star Wars short of these two guys looking for what was the presence on this planet. And I just appreciated the style of this one. It feels super Clint Eastwood-like, Unforgiven. That's a fantastic movie, and this one just really felt like that. It was a very nice, calm Star Wars episode with kind of silent tension in it. Plus, I did dig the old man character. Once you see him, you see him in the trailers too. This old man character is in it, and I found him interesting. But now we're in the top 4 things, and seriously, this top tier, I'm pretty sure I know which one is like my favorite and what I believe personally is the best Star Wars Visions episode. Other than that, I loved all 4 of these ones, but number 4 to me is The Duel. Not by a studio, it looks like, but KAMIKAZE DOUGA, or maybe that is a studio, I don't know. But kind of following the Elder episode, this one also kind of feels like a Western, but done more so in the sense of actual like samurai flick. They legitimately make it black and white. The art style in this one is phenomenal. It's so good. I love the art style in this one, so unique. And every character in it I found interesting, basically being this wandering samurai-like person, you know, and he comes across this town that comes under attack. Kind of not necessarily the Empire or things like that, but kind of remnants of it, which makes it interesting. It feels like an isolated situation, which I can appreciate in short stories. And just the art style, the characters in this one, and the outcome of it, the results, I just really dug this one. This was a great first episode for the series too. But number 3 goes to The Village Bride by KINEMA Citrus. I haven't heard of KINEMA Citrus before, but I want to see them do more stuff. The Village Bride is gorgeous. I probably favored the art style of this one more than any of the episodes first off, but The Village Bride essentially deals with a kind of wandering man that might kind of want to save people now and then. He meets this kind of Jedi with no master, and they are deciding, you know, like, oh, what do we do about this village? This village is kind of enslaved or, you know, oppressed, and they're getting to decide, what do they do about this village? And this village has this theme about nature to it, and the characters, you know, you just kind of sympathize with what's going on. Visually, and the soundtrack to this episode, with the premise and characters are good enough, but I couldn't get over the presentation of this episode. It really called to me, and probably has my favorite soundtrack of any of the episodes. I just really dug this one, and I like the idea of, you know, what do you decide to do when you see something like this, when you have nobody telling you what to do? But second place in this list goes to Production IG's, a studio that I vastly appreciate, The Ninth Jedi. And that title alone, I was like, okay, what is this? But The Ninth Jedi pretty much follows this idea that a lot of Jedi from across the universe got this beacon, and they're supposed to meet up here to get their lightsabers and free people from the Empire or whatever bad thing is going on here. And it's pretty much this girl's job, this girl's job that you see in the trailers where she's like running on ice and stuff. It's her job to get these guys their lightsabers. Like, it's a very big task. And yeah, you literally are creating 9 Jedis when the universe is so scarce of them. And so the premise alone is super compelling. I really dug it. But then they make all the character design super freaking good in the episode. Not to mention, Production IG just has brilliant animation. So the looks, designs, everything about this was super well produced. And it was the only one I walked away from. Like, I kind of want to see where this goes. Like, this is legitimately a Star Wars story. I would like to see more. Like, where is this gonna go? You got some great lightsaber fights, you got a great chase sequence, you got some emotional moments. Like, it was a really damn good episode. Might be the longest next to what is number 1, my favorite episode, Lop and Ocho by Geno Studio. Again, I've never heard of Geno Studio, just like KINEMA Citrus. I don't know them, like, but I want to see a lot more from them. Lop and Ocho is the peak of this series in my opinion. The only con I have with it is that it does end really suddenly. I wish there was just a slight bit more of an epilogue, but that's kind of the problem with every one of these episodes except for like 2. Other than that, you have a very isolated story, and this is the furry one that you might have seen in the trailers, but it's good. Like, that character is in a really bad situation before she meets this family that takes her in. And when this family starts to get kind of torn apart by what the Empire is doing and really creating, you know, these lines of who do I side with kind of a thing, it's a really emotional story. And not to mention, the production of it is wild. Like, this was the one I bought the production design so well between like the cars, the city, and how everything looked. Like, the art direction is phenomenal. They added like film grain to it for whatever stylistic reason. And the characters were really well written. Like, this was the all around one, just a good story about a family getting torn apart by the Empire with some good action in it, some good emotions, some good lore writing. This was the top tier episode to me. And overall, Star Wars Visions was just a good way to do Star Wars. I think this is the way to do Star Wars now, is just tell all these different stories, get rid of the Skywalker saga, which I think they're doing anyways, but just having these stories to be told in this grand universe. And there's so many of them, and I want to see where the Jedi from the Village Bride goes. I want to see what happens in Lop and Ocho's family relationship, and lots of other things. I kind of want a sequel to these series and seeing kind of continuations to some of these stories, but definitely not all of them. What was your most favorite and least favorite episode? Leave me that in the comments. I would love to see it and chat with you about it. And don't forget to be Geek Proud Awesome by subscribing. And yeah, I will see you in the comments and in the next video. Toodles.